Hello, everyone. Welcome to 1 Point Perspective. So I am gearing this towards 4th and 5th graders. So it can be done with any other grade. If you're going to look at doing this with younger kids, I suggest you go look at the farm 1 Point Perspective for 2nd graders. Probably wouldn't try it too much younger than that. So we are going to do an interior room. My 4th and 5th graders, a lot of them said interior rooms and some said exterior. So I'm going to do both. So I have not completed my example, but I have started my interior room. I do enjoy the outdoors, and porch or breezeways are a great place to kind of have your comforts of home, but then also have your exterior, your outside nature area and view. So that's what I chose. So before I demonstrate, boys and girls, I am going to run through pictures of how to get started. And this will kind of help you as we go along. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to find your focal point, which is just a dot. Okay, and basically that's the center of the room where you want that to be. So I would suggest you do it somewhere along the middle of the paper here. Okay, and then from there you draw a line from the focal point to each of the corners of your paper. All right, and then you have to make the back wall of the room. So you have to decide how far back you want it. If you put the line closer to, let's see, if you put it farther up right here, like right here, then it's going to make the room look a lot smaller. Okay, I didn't quite make that perfect, but you can see already it looks a little crooked, right? Because I didn't measure. So if you put it farther up here, it's going to make the room look further. It's not going to be as deep. Okay, so put the, I would put it back farther, make it a little bit smaller so the room looks like it's going away from you. That optical illusion we've been leading up to for this. Then, of course, you can erase the lines in the middle because now it's a wall. So now you can see that a little bit better. All right, so now you're going to start adding your details of your room. I chose those archways. Like I said, it's like a porch. So what I did was I created, get my straight line again here. So again, well, I created these archways. So you have to keep an eye on your focal point. So every line on your walls, the floor, and the ceiling that goes front to back. Now, of course, that's an optical illusion, right? It's not actually going front to back, but you're intending for it to show front to back. So you're going to go from your focal point, and you can see I right here put it out like that. That what makes the height of my windows. That shows me how small to make each one. So you can see the tops of each of these doorways meets that, and that automatically will set up for how small they go. If I were to keep going, it would, whoops, oh, I forgot I have a straight line, sorry. Let me get the drawing tool. If I were to keep going, if this had been a full wall, it didn't go all the way up there, then I would go all the way up and down, and it would automatically set the size of that. You might remember that we learned that in 2nd grade when we did the farms, the 1 Point Perspective farms. For those of you that don't remember, it's this one right here. Okay, and remember we made the pumpkins and we had that they're closer to us, they're big and they got smaller and smaller and smaller, and you had to fit your pumpkin in the space as it got smaller. All right, kind of the same concept, but now instead of on the ground, we have it up on the wall. Okay, so that's what I did there, and same thing over here. So again, I went from the focal point, I made the line straight out here, and then I went in and put in the archways. Okay, and then of course I had to come back here and erase it, the part that's on that back wall. And to make the back ones, you just do normal. Okay, so that back wall, you're looking straight at it. So you would just draw it like you would have in any other drawing. Okay, they are going to look normal. There's no optical illusion there. All right, and that's when you're done. So you can see I haven't erased that line yet, but I'll erase those lines because I just need them to guide me to make the sizes. Okay, now the wall is not paper thin, right? Those archways have some thickness to them. So to do that, I, again, from the focal point, made the thickness of the doorstep. You know how when you step through a door to go outside, there's usually a piece of, I don't even know what they call that in architecture. There's a board there, okay? And so I put that in there. Of course, I didn't draw through my wall. I just did part of it. And then where it meets here, I made the bottom of it. And then drew up here, and then I finished the curve there. Okay. Now it looks crooked because that was the angle I was holding the camera when I took a picture. It's not actually crooked like that. All right, and so that gives it the thickness. As you can see, the thickness of the wall. And I'm going to demonstrate a little bit more of this in a minute. All right, and then the floor. Again, I use the lines going to the focal point. So here is my focal point, and you can see they line up with the lines. Even this one over here. Every single one of these lines is headed back there. Now, you don't necessarily have to draw the line all the way back if you feel like you can eye it. But usually when we first start this, you should put it in there. Boys and girls, remember, I tell you all the time, I've been telling you since kindergarten, trying to get you to draw lightly. This is one of those times you definitely want to draw lightly because you're going to have to make lines that you will have to erase, okay? And then when you make these lines going this way, they have to be parallel with the paper. So this line here going across is parallel with this edge of my paper, which is perpendicular to my walls. So if you look at the lines where I made my archways, I bring it straight down. If I extend that line, it is perpendicular to those lines. The temptation is going to be to make your walls look like they're leaning in by slanting those lines. And like I said, I'm going to show you. It's also perpendicular to this line. Okay, so that's that back corner where the two walls meet. Notice how the two blue lines are parallel. They are also parallel with this side of the paper. Okay, so that is going to be your key. You have to look at your lines. They're generally going to either be all going to the focal point, or they're going to be parallel or perpendicular to another line. So there's the bottom of the floor. So all my yellow lines are parallel to each other. The yellow lines are perpendicular, you can see, to these blue lines. All right, now that's because they're not going front to back, right? They're either going up and down or they're going across. The red lines are going all front to back. That's the optical illusion. Those lines going back to the focal point, those are the optical illusion. Hopefully that helps explain that. All right. And so I haven't finished my drawing. Miss Dow has been absolutely super busy lately, so I have not been able to complete that. However, I will do a quick demonstration to get you started so you can actually see the steps of getting started. Okay. Now, I'm not going to do all the details of that because I don't know what you're going to put into your picture. okay? And so that makes it kind of tough. Now, if you do not have a ruler, remember you can make your straight edge. Those of you who are now in person with me at school, I will bring you a ruler. So remember, you're gonna decide, you're gonna put your dot, your focal point. A good, easy way to do this is to start in the center. If you can barely see it on the screen. Moving off to the sides will add a little bit extra of an angle, and that might make your optical illusion a little bit more difficult to see. So if you're looking for a challenge, like if you had the cube super easy, then go ahead and try it. That's a great challenge for you. All right, so remember, you're gonna go from here to each of the corners. I need to put my glasses on. Make sure you have a sharp pencil. That will help keep accuracy. And the more accurate you can be with this, the better the optical illusion of the depth it will be. All right, so there we have our 4 things. So this piece is going to be the ceiling. Well, part of it anyway. These are going to be the 2 side walls, and this will be the floor. So we have to make that back wall. So this is where it's going to be really important to make sure that you are parallel, not too far, not too close, because you want to give some depth, but not too much, right? Now I have a sewing ruler that makes it really easy for me to kind of do perpendicular and parallel because my ruler is wider and I can use the ruler is already set to make that. But if you don't have that, your ruler is straight on this edge, right? So you can line it up with the edge of the paper and then kind of look to see if it's equally distant in here. You can even turn it sideways and you can measure with your pencil and your finger. You can say, okay, it's this far away. Ah, it's a little bit off right there, so just move it up. Okay, and now I know it's parallel and I can put my line in. Okay, so use a lot of your compare and contrast. Make sure you go all the way to the edge. Now, if it helps you, it doesn't matter which order you do this in. It might help if you do the next one to make 2 parallel lines first and then put in the 2 side lines. It might not. It just depends on you and how you learn. So you're going to be very careful. I would put my pencil right here where those 2 came together. Make this one. Again, put the pencil where the 2 lines came together. Use the edge. Make sure you have the ruler up there. Make sure it's even with the paper. That will help make sure it's perpendicular and parallel. And then you should just be able to connect these together. I'm a little bit off. Not too much, just a little bit there. Okay, and that will be the back wall. Now remember, you don't need to have those lines. I am pressing harder so that you can see on the video. You can do that super, super lightly. The person who has to see it is you, and then you can erase it, and we don't need to see it anymore, okay? All right, now, let's say you're gonna put a window or a poster or a picture or something on the side of your wall. All right, this is the ceiling. This is the floor, and these are your walls. All right, and this is a wall, of course. So if you do anything on this wall, remember it's normal. You can just make, you know, if you want to put a picture here or like whatever you want, you can draw. I'm going to do this quickly, boys and girls, so because this video is getting long already. All right, you can just do that normal shapes. You don't have to do anything with those as long as they're parallel and perpendicular to the edges of the wall. But here, that changes on these sections. So if I'm going to put a poster or window here, I have to remember that the top and the bottom of the poster or the window, they're going to be going to the focal point, okay, because they're traveling away from me. So from the focal point, I'm going to do the top of the window. I'm going to say this is going to be a window. Make it as long as you think it is going to be, big window, and then do the bottom. All right. Oh, you can barely see it again. I keep getting this. Come on. There we go. All right. All right. Now, this side and this side have to be parallel with the edge of the paper because they're going the same direction. All right, so this edge, I'd come to the one closest to the paper because the closer you are, the easier it is for you to see if it's parallel, right? It's pretty easy to see that that space right there between my ruler and the edge of the paper is equally distant all the way down. So I'm gonna make my line to connect those two. There it is, okay? And then if you want to kind of line up your ruler with that line and gently drag it out here. Remember, you can double check yourself, make sure the edge here is parallel to the top here, and you can drop the other line. And there's your window or poster or whatever you want. Okay, now if I want to put the grids in there, a lot of windows have those grids. That middle line has to be the same way. It has to be parallel to the sides. You don't want to put it in crooked, right? But then what about these? Well, they have to be equal, the same type of line as this one. So go back to your focal point and put in that line or lines. Right? Some windows have more grid lines than others. So just do that quickly just to give you an idea. Okay. Now, of course, you can be as detailed as you want to. If you want to go in there and add the wood frame that's around the windows, you know, you can go in there and put the wood frame around it. I'm not going to go and do that right now, but you can see how that adds detail, right? Detail helps tell a story. All right, so that's how you do that. And that's the same no matter where you put it. But what about if you want to do some furniture? Let's say you want to do a table. All right, let's put a table right here in the middle of the floor. I'm going to make the edge of the table right here. Okay, it's going to be parallel to the bottom of the paper. But the side of the table, they're going away from me, so they have to go to the focal point. So I'll make one there, one there. Now, my table doesn't go all the way to the wall, right? Where is that? That's too far away again. All right, so it doesn't go all the way to the wall, so I have to show where it ends. And of course, it is parallel to this edge, right? It's a rectangle. Usually tables are rectangles. Okay, and now of course I can erase this line. Don't need that. Now, as of right now, leave it like that and it's a carpet, right? It's on the floor. If I want to make it a table, I have to give it the legs. And of course, each leg should be the same. You want to make them the same size. Now, is the table just a line? No, you've got to make the, I'm going to switch to my little ruler. You've got to make it wider. Now, remember how in my example, I showed you that the wall had thickness to it? You can do that here with the table. So you can show the inside of that leg by going like this. You go from the focal point to the corner and just put a little line there. Do you see how it makes that inside edge? And then you can drop a parallel line here. Erase the extra. And now you've made that leg look 3D. All right. So you could probably do that with the edge of the table too. You probably want to make the edge of the table, whoops, sorry. You probably want to drop this down and make the edge of the table thicker, because that's not really just a line either. Whoops, I erased that line. All right, so you see how that's starting to become a little bit more 3D? So those are the rules, boys and girls. That's really what's all it is. And so it just requires a little bit of practice. Start with the basic shape. So even like with a chair, I would start with the seat of the chair. Okay, I'm going to start here because I want it to be smaller than the table. So I have to make that line lower than this, right? Because it has to be smaller. And then I'm going to make the lines of the chair that go back away from me. And I know it's not going on the back, so I skip that. And then I'm going to make the edge of the chair. It has to be parallel. Okay, so again, right now, it looks like it's something on the floor. So I have to give it legs. So here we can see all the legs. And then you could just extend the back up to start forming the back of the chair. So you see it starting? Okay. And that really is it. If you just stick to parallel, perpendicular, and back to the focal point, those 3 types of lines, then you will be golden. All right? Okay, remember what I said in the other video, in the other lesson. You're going to make mistakes. This is brand new. It's a new idea. So don't take it too seriously. Do your best and have fun with it, okay? And I'm here to answer questions. So whether we're in person together or whether we're still online together, I'm here for your questions, okay? And I'll re-demonstrate with the specific things that you have that you want to put in there if you have trouble. But just to remember, the lines are one of 3 things for the most part. They go to the focal point if they're distance lines, if they're going front to back, right? That's the optical illusion. All the other lines for the most part are going to be parallel or perpendicular to the edges of the paper. All right, awesome, can't wait.